the community, so they reverted to Islam, and they also started to speak what is now called Kanubi, which is a kind of Creole Arabic. So that's sort of how the community came to be in Kenya as well as in Uganda. Sorry, my cat wants to be fed and is jumping all over me down here. So I think that history is quite important. Not everybody really understands that kind of connection to Nubia, and I am really interested to attend some other panels in the festival to learn more about other parts of the diaspora that have different stories. So that's my second point, just to emphasise the connection to Nubia. And so then my third point is to say a little something about the way in which the Nubian community has been able to move towards a more secure form of citizenship. Mustafa and Greg and others here know a lot about the problem of statelessness and have also done really important work around the problem of statelessness. And so I'll try and leave some space for them to add to this. But in short, after independence, the Kenyan government was reluctant to recognise the Nubians as citizens of Kenya. When the British left, they didn't do anything to guarantee that the Nubians would be given citizenship in the newly independent country. They didn't do anything to guarantee that they would have secure land title in the places where they settled. And so for a very, very long time, the Nubian community has struggled in a lot of ways because of being stateless. What this meant was that most Nubians didn't, for a long time, have identity cards, which means you can't access bank accounts. It's difficult to attend school, very difficult to attend university, can't get a passport to travel, so you can't go to Hajj, for example, can't take up scholarship opportunities. So it had a real impact on the lives of many Nubian people. And there are a number of groups, probably more than I can mention here, who lobbied for a long time to fix that problem. And many Nubians now do have ID cards. Most Nubians have ID cards. There's still an unfair process for Nubians. It's more difficult for Nubians than it is for other Kenyans, but they are, by and large, eventually getting their identity cards, which is really great and really is the result of long and difficult struggle by the community in Kenya, which I also want to acknowledge and celebrate. But of course, Nubians will tell you that the ID are part of the problem. But the bigger issue is actually that the Nubians haven't had security of tenure. And in Kenya, every ethnic group, and there are well over 40 ethnic groups, every ethnic group has a homeland or shags in Sheng, in sort of Nairobi, Swahili. And for the Nubian community in Kenya, their homeland is typically understood to be Kibra. Many people might know Kibra as Africa. But to the Nubian community, it's not a slum, it's their home. It's where they were settled in 1902 as soldiers and where they've lived for many, many, many generations, more than 8 generations now. There are also other Nubian settlements in Kenya, all across the country, basically up and down the Mombasa-Uganda railway line, because the Nubians were protecting the railway when it was built. And so there are communities all across Kenya, but the biggest community is in Kibra, which is Kanubi for forest, which is what it used to be. It's obviously very different from that now. And so the community for a very, very long time since independence, since actually well before independence, have also been lobbying for recognition of that land as belonging to them and secure title so that they can't be evicted or displaced, and so that they have control over developments in the area. And in 2017, President Uhuru Kenyatta did finally grant the Nubians land title for 288 acres of Kibra, which was a cause for huge celebration in the community. And I also want to acknowledge the significance of all the work that the different community groups put into getting that. It's not the whole land. The original area was 4,197.9 acres, and the community is still looking into options for compensation or restitution of the rest of that land. But on a symbolic level, the recognition that Kibra is Nubian territory, if you like, it's a Nubian homeland in Kenya, is really significant, I think, and has gone a long way towards making the Nubians more known in Kenya and more accepted as Kenyan citizens, which is really fantastic because, of course, they are Kenyans and identify very strongly as being Nubian as well as being Kenyan. So I want to acknowledge that as a huge victory for the community and congratulate all the groups involved on all their hard work. And also for people who are listening from the broader Nubian diaspora and Nubian communities in other parts of the world, I also, and this will be the last thing that I say, I also just wanted to comment on, and this is part of the research that I am working on, that it's really fantastic the way in which the Nubian community has been able to identify on all of these multiple levels. So they connect with their ancestors in South Sudan, Nubia, Egypt, but they also strongly identify as Kenyan, and they're able to identify Kibra as home, as a place that has always been and always will be their home, as well as being able to identify with the diasporic community more generally. And I think that's also something to be celebrated, and something that needs to be sort of talked about a lot more. It's possible to be loyal and attached to a global community at the same time as you can be attached to a national community like the Kenyan community. And I think that's important from a policy perspective because it's important that other Kenyans and the Kenyan government recognise the Nubians' attachments to Kenya, as well as being important that the community can connect with other Nubians, for example, through this wonderful event. Again, if anyone would like to read my work, I'm always really, really happy to share it. It's actually very exciting that people would want to read it. So please don't hesitate to get in touch with me, send me an email. And I'm not very good on social media, I have to confess. But if you send me an email, I'll be happy to share with you any of my published work. So thank you again to Halima and Bawua and everyone else, Mustafa, for involving me in this. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Thanks so much, Samantha, for your enlightening remarks and just highlighting on the work that you've done on the different aspects of business made as a Nubian community in preserving the culture. I now would like to go on to our next panelist, Greg Constantine. Kindly over to you, Greg. Thank you. Please go ahead.
Hello there, and I just want to say thanks so much for that, Samantha. As always, it's great to be a part of an event like this, and more importantly, I just want to thank Halima, Bawa, Mustafa and everyone there at Nubian Souk for organizing this incredibly exciting program. And needless to say, I'm incredibly honored to be a part of it and to have this short moment of time to kind of present some of the work that I've done, that we've done together in so many ways. It's been a few years since I've been really engaged with the Nubian community, but I'm always excited to kind of be re-injected into the conversation in one way or another, at least from the work that I've done in the past. And I do think that these kind of programs are just so exciting, particularly with such a large diaspora of people from this community. It's always just so important to continue these kind of conversations for the benefit of others within the Nubian community, new generations, but also, I believe, for others who are not in the Nubian community to become more exposed to Nubian history, culture, and all of the amazing initiatives and actions that the community has done internally to be able to, I guess, establish itself and its rightful claim to its place in Kenyan society. I'm going to kind of follow the same format that Samantha did, but I'm going to present a little bit of work, not much. But basically, I was exposed to the story of the Nubian community in Kenya through a very, very specific kind of lens. And that's I'm not saying that just because I'm a photographer, but it was through a very specific lens. And that was through the issue of statelessness. One thing that I think is really important and that I recognize is that when I started that work in 2008, the situation for the Nubian community up until that time was I think in a ways very different from what it is right now. And the important thing that I think is really exciting is for me to recognize and to help express is that the amount of progress that has been made over the past, let's say, 5 to 7 years has been incredible. And so in some kind of ways, I kind of feel like the work that my own independent work with the Nubian community, at least my own photographs and my own documentation, is in some kind of ways, in a very exciting way, a little bit out of date, which to me is very exciting because it just is an indication of how much progress and change has actually been made and initiated by the Nubian community to, again, restore those rightful opportunities that they have, that they have, and that you have as a community in Kenya. So for me, that's a really exciting thing. And all photographers, you never want your work to become out of date, but in this kind of situation, it's so incredibly exciting to see that. But I think one of the most important parts for me and the work that happened that I've done with the Nubian community is I feel like for the first time to be able to work in collaboration with the community to actually reconstruct in a very, very exciting way a visual history of the community that had not existed before or had not ever been put together. So a little bit of the backstory behind my involvement with the Nubian community in Kenya. I traveled to Kenya in 2008, very much with the intention of creating some kind of visual documentation of the struggles that the Nubian community were having at the time. That dealt with land, that dealt with job opportunities, that dealt with recognition, but also at the same time is the counter to that, and that is what was the community doing at the same time that all these forces were marginalizing the community to actually preserve and promote their own culture, and also a way to fight for your rights. So that was very much my intention. I spent, I think it was, must have been a month in Kenya during 2008. And it was an absolutely amazing experience for me. I met so many incredibly passionate, creative, people from the Nubian community who over time really I felt kind of started to understand the work that I was doing. But what wasn't particularly anticipated in that first trip in 2008 was this kind of discovery through talking with all of these different people in the Nubian community in Kibra, and understanding that all of these different fragmented people or Nubian families around Kibra actually were possessing this collective visual story of what the Nubian community was. It had never been put together before. Families would share old photographs that were in shoeboxes in their homes in Kibra that they had never shared with their neighbor before or with the wider community before. And for me, it was, what better way or what more important way can you actually tell the story of what I was doing in terms of what a community had lost? How could you do that effectively without actually being able to show what the community had at one particular period of time? And so that then kind of sent me on this quest. And that was to try to some way collaborate with the Nubian community to collect all of these old archival photographs that were splintered and fractured within this huge swath of land in Kibra, put them all together in a way and curate them in a way that could help provide a representation of this visual history. It's not exhaustive. It's not the authoritative visual history of the community, but at the same time, it hadn't existed before. So a year later, I partnered up and collaborated with a group of Nubian youth in Kibra, and over the course of 2 months, they went out and started talking with families all around Kibra, and families loaned us these photographs that they had that were then digitally scanned there in Nairobi. And as a result, I think it was 354 old photographs were collected as part of this project. When you juxtapose those photographs with my photographs at the time in 2009, 2010, it really showed kind of the implications that marginalization and that statelessness, and like Samantha said, a large part of that was through the denial and struggles that Nubians had in obtaining national ID cards, and all of those rights and opportunities that are afforded by obtaining and possessing those national ID cards came about. But more importantly, it was basically about, to me, it was this archival collection of photographs was really about showing the connection, the deep connection that the community, the Nubian community, had to Kenya, and the contributions that the Nubian community had actually made to Kenya. And in so many ways, I think you see with communities all around the world, one of the the strategies that governments take in communities is by challenging those histories in a way that makes other communities feel like this community, i.e. the Nubian community, did not belong. And so this archival collection of photographs was really kind of like an act of resistance towards the narratives that previous Kenyan governments had given. So it was a really exciting time for me to be working in collaboration with the community that I was focusing on, and providing both myself and the community at the same time a platform to be able to provide this really rich visual definition of who this community was and what their contribution to the community was. We did this collection of photographs, and that ended up producing a large exhibition that was shown at the primary school there in Kibra, and also at an exhibition in London, and also at an exhibition in a small exhibition in New York City. And that then again sparked this idea of, well, you know what, it would be great if we could have some kind of physical record that would be permanent for the Nubian community to be able to use and for others to be able to see. Hence, what ended up producing my first book, which I'm still to this day so incredibly proud of, Kenya's Nubians Then and Now. So right now I'm just going to show a few of the spreads from the book, and kind of go through some of the rationale behind why the book was created the way that it was. And this to me was really exciting because I had the opportunity to invite people to contribute to the book, both from the Nubian community, but also people like Yashpal Guy, who wrote the introduction, Korir Singoy, who wrote another introduction. Samantha contributed a brilliant timeline of the history of the Rohingya, or of the Nubian community, to the book as well. And then at the same time, I really felt that this was a collaboration between a number of different people. Let me load this up. People can see it a little bit better. But you'll see that in the book, it basically is organized into a then and a now section, half and half. And really, it starts with presenting a little bit more of the deeper history of the Nubian community, in terms of the community's connection to the King's African Rifles. This photograph on the right is the oldest photograph that was collected during that process. It dated back to 1910, and you'll see that there is a narrative, a historical narrative that is created in the book and it's basically the springboard for the whole entire story and project was this historical story of the Nubian community, and the Nubian community's connection and contributions to wider Kenyan society, from transitioning from the Nubian community and the King's African Rifles. Then it starts to then get down into the Nubians' contribution to in pre-independence. What was the Nubian community doing then? Photographs of the Nubian community working for the Kenyan bus service as policemen, part of civil society, acknowledgements by the colonial government at the time, and then that actually ends up then branching off into this kind of larger connection that the Nubian community has in terms of one of the more important characteristics of the community in being acknowledged in Kenyan society is this connection to the land of Kibra. And what was Kibra like before it became to the mass public Kibera? And I think this was probably one of the other more exciting parts of this project, was to actually be able to see what Kibra looked like, and also find those points in the Nubian past where it's completely and totally counter to most of the narratives that a lot of people were familiar with when it comes to the Nubian community and Kibera. Like these two back-to-back photographs. I mean, there were some really incredible discoveries in this particular project, and there's a number of them that really celebrate Nubian culture, the family, and activity that the Nubian community had within wider Nubian society. I mean, this is the group of Nubian women who would always meet with and welcome the president at the airport whenever he would arrive back, or these kind of photographs really just kind of show this engagement that the Nubian community had for many, many, many years. So in large part, that was basically what this particular project was about. And in a ways, it really was, when I make presentations, I always talk about the project on about and with the Nubian community as being this discovery for me as a photographer. And it really set a really exciting course for me in not being someone who just documents and records things through photographs, but also collaborates with those communities that I am working with in trying to provide an outlet and a platform for them as well. I really won't particularly, to be honest with you, I'm not really going to share any of my photographs from the book because in a lot of ways, I'll let other people discover them themselves. But like I said at the very beginning of the discussion, I feel in many ways that the photographs that I took in 2008, 2009, 10 are a bit outdated. Important historical pieces, I feel, moving forward, but really today in so many ways, because of the actions and the commitment that the Nubian community has, both the elders and Nubian youth, in moving forward. My photographs aren't particularly very relevant right now, and that's an exciting thing for me. So I'm kind of going to end my presentation on that note. Right now, I'm in the process of doing a total overhaul of the website for this particular project. I'm hoping that it will be up again, probably within the next 2 months, if not by the end of the year. And the URL address for that, I just want to say it again, is kenyasnubians.com. That will be, again, like I said, will be updated in the next 2 months, where there'll be many more pictures from the archive of this collection project that I did with this team of Nubian youth online as before. But I'm really honored to be a part of this discussion and can't thank you enough. And if anybody has any questions, the email will be made public to answer, to send me any questions or whatever from there. But thank you again so much, Halima, Bawa, Mustafa, Nubian Souk, for inviting me to be a part of this really exciting discussion. I'm just really honored and privileged, and any opportunity to be engaged with the Nubian community is just such a special moment. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Greg. That was really humbling, and your presentation was remarkable. I think we're really grateful to have a small insight of the noble work that you do and the various collaborations that you've done with the communities that you've worked with. Thank you so much. Next, I think I'll go to our next panelist, Mustafa Mahmoud, who's part of the Nubian Souk as well. Please go on, Mustafa. Over to you. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Halima. It's a privilege to speak after a very brilliant minds interacted with Samantha and Greg at different levels. And we cannot commend you, we cannot appreciate you to the level that you have really highlighted the lives of the Nubians out there. But all we can say is that your reward will be from God, because there's nothing we can offer to you. I am a man of many hats. Today I'll try to limit myself to the cultural preservation, but just a little bit, since Samantha had hinted on issues of identity. I have worked on issues of discrimination, in issues of discrimination in regards to issues of documentation. The Nubian community in Kenya usually have challenges in terms of obtaining identity documentation. And for some good years, we've been trying to do a lot of advocacy internationally, nationally, and also litigation to try to get solutions to this problem. But today, I'm trying to leave past the problem. I'm trying to see how do we cover our faces from the problems and preserve some of the things that we hold dear. And there is nothing that identifies a community like their cultures. There is nothing that identifies the community like when they celebrate their weddings. There's nothing that identifies a community in the way, like the way they cook their food. There's nothing that celebrates a community, like the way they preserve their cultural artifacts. So that is the brain behind Nubian Heritage and Resource Foundation. It's all about trying to preserve this culture of our community that has been dying with time. If you understand very well, Kibra is the biggest settlement of the Nubian community, and it's cosmopolitan, metropolitan area. And because of that, there's a lot of assimilation. There's a lot of corrosion of our cultures that we really hold dearly. And the fact that culture is not that profitable, it makes the youth not interested, not to be interested in participating in cultural activities. This goes to issues of the cultural artifacts like the kuta that we use to cover our food, the birish mats that we usually use to pray. It's used also for the weddings and all that. So we looked at it as a problem, because if the youth do not participate in the making of these artifacts, it means when these elders who have the expertise, God forbid, they pass on, our culture might be eroded completely. It means when these elders who hold these cultures together pass on, we'll not have people who will continue with this culture. That's the reason as to why we said, how do we promote culture in the community? And we came up with our own term, culturepreneurship, where basically we look at it as the new entrepreneurship, making culture profitable. So how do you make culture profitable? You make an avenue for a market that basically people can come and sell their merchandise. And this, because we always have Maasai markets every Tuesday, Thursday in different malls. But when do we have Nubian markets? So that's the reason as to why we came with the name Nubian Souk. And we usually say Souk, but at the moment we just say Nubian Souk. This event is usually held annually, December, around before Christmas, because we also believe that our beautiful artifacts can attract many people out there to come and buy some of them. So our intention is to bring culture with profit, and also bringing children to understand the values that we hold most. And it's we want to have foods, games, market fair that basically all ages could come and enjoy. And that is the reason as to why we've been having, since 2017, if I'm not wrong, we've been having Nubian Souk every December. And last year we were able to attract one of our friends from Egypt, Mohamed, who came all the way to come and grace our occasion. And it's because we believe our culture should go to the world, not only talking to the Nubian community, but going out there, not only talking to the Kenyan community, but globally. And such partnerships are the things that we appreciate most. And we are still exploring how we can be able to bring on board other sponsors. Unfortunately, because of COVID, we were not able to plan for the Souk this year, but hopefully we can see what we can do, even if it's a virtual one. But basically, the whole concept is about how do we make culture profitable. We've seen people making some good money out of it, and the number of vendors have been increasing by years. So the first time people were skeptical because they were like, will I sell? Will I get back the value of money? Will I get back the value of my time? And alhamdulillah, we can report back and say, we've been able to have profits for the vendors. Unfortunately for Siama, who was supposed to join us, she was not able to join because of connectivity. I'll speak briefly about other initiatives that are happening on ground in terms of cultural preservation. In 2016, there was a contest for Nubian Cultural Ambassador. Basically, the cultural ambassador's position is to help promote the Nubian culture. And Siama Ismail, who's the cultural ambassador, and Noor and Kur, who's also the cultural ambassador representing male figures in the community, have been doing some good work in terms of selling the Nubian culture out there. So there are a lot of initiatives out here that are trying to have the culture. We also have traditional troops for Doluka, we have Sister Club, we have also Jumabe that are already going digital, and we have very many exchanges that are trying to preserve the culture. So this is what we, the Nubian Souk and Nubian Heritage, are looking at as a multi-tier approach to cultural preservation. And it's a good platform for people to look at how do you make profitable cultural practices. It's very important to see culture as a way of making incentives of living. And for example, I was blessed to see that nowadays, instead of just cooking at weddings, women from the community are nowadays cooking their food in hotels. We see Sababin Hotel that basically these are a group of women that come together to try and cook during weddings. They began as a Kisra club, and nowadays they have a hotel. So if you put incentives to culture, you'll attract many people into cultural preservation. And these are the things that we are trying to do. We have not yet reached our goals, but hopefully we'll be able to reach it with time. So I can go on and on, but I wanted, because Yakub is having a lot of issues with connectivity, his audio is not being able to connect. Maybe I hand over to Halima.
Thank you, Mustafa, for highlighting the issues that you go through in your daily life in terms of trying to ensure the community is able to upgrade itself, is able to be able to go to the next level through cultural appreciation. I want to also acknowledge the fact you've been able to work with various organizations and be able to work with other stakeholders, ensuring that the Nubia community is at the forefront of preserving culture. For the audience, I would like to apologize because our two panelists, Siama Ismail and Yakub Hassan, will not be available this time round, but they will be able to showcase what they have for us in our next event. Otherwise, I would like to probably give Mustafa again an opportunity to be able to let us do the storytelling session, where we'll be able to look at the different stories that have been showcased to ensure that our culture is preserved. Over to you, Mustafa. I don't know if you're ready to go on.
Thank you, Halima. As I had mentioned, we have very many approaches of partnership. And as much as Siama is not able to join us, there's a video that she has participated in, and we wanted to share with you today. So I'll go ahead and play the video.
Living mama inani, kugu inani, living mama inani, kugu inani, kalabu inani, kugu inani, kalabu inani, kugu inani, living mama inani, kugu inani, living mama inani. Hello. Hello. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Come on, let's hear up a bit. It's mine. Because you have to listen to a very good story. Who wants to be the president here? Who wants to be one of the best presidents in the country? Who wants to be the president here? But you have to start somewhere. And do you think that everybody can be that doctor? Do you think that everybody can be that professor? No. You think so? Don't agree. Everybody can. It doesn't matter who you are. Isn't it? You can be a girl, you can be a boy. We have female president, don't we? Liberia has a female president. You know that? I do believe in myself. I'm going to tell you a story about a small boy who was born in a remote village. Remote Nubian village. Now there was once a beautiful couple. They loved children. They married and stayed for a very, very, very long time without getting a child. They loved the children. They blamed the neighbor's children every now and then. It reached a time when the neighbors said, these people cannot have their own children. So we don't want them to bring their child out with our children. So they stopped their children from going to the couple's house. This made the couple very, very, very sad. They did not have a child of their own, but they loved all their other children. So they kept on praying and praying and praying until one day their prayer was answered. So the mother became pregnant. When she became pregnant, after a long, painful pregnancy period, it came the time for the child to be born. When the baby was born, child was not normal like any other child in the village. This made the parents really sad, and everybody who came to see them got scared whenever they looked at the baby. And they said, no, see, this couple has stayed for a very long time without any children. Now that they have a child, they've got a monster into this world. So they said to them, children, no, don't go to that house. They told the other parents, no, don't go and look at that child. That is a beast. He's been born there. You know what? That child was born with a slight problem, which happens to everybody. Not every child can be born normal. So that baby had a big head. So, the community said it was a curse. Nobody wanted their children to go there. Not even the chief, not even the sultan wanted that couple in the village. So what they decided to do was give them a piece of land far away from the village where nobody can pass by and see them because it was considered a bad omen. Any child born with that kind of deficiency is bad for them. So nobody wanted to go shopping with the family. Okay, the family moved to that far away. They said that they did not do anything to that child. They prayed for the child for so many years. And now that God has given them one, what should they throw away their baby? The baby was not a bad thing. And back in the village, they were called the parents of the big-headed one. In Nubian, simply means a grass. So that made the nickname of that little baby. The boy grew in that far most part of the village, where everybody would come and pick to see if he was still alive. But he grew with his big head. Of course, he could not move fast like any other child, so he had to move very slowly. He could not play around with the other children, but he was growing, healthy just like that, except for his head. It happened, and then he became a teenager. But one thing he had, that nobody had a passion for all the animals. Surprisingly enough, he communicated with the animals. He look at them. Somehow they seem to communicate. Not like they seem to talk one. Look at the bird will come and surround him. Everybody always look at him smiling at the bird. I with all the animals. It was abnormal. So even all the other birds, the animals are coming back and think. Very enough, he was married for the animals. He learned the animal language. He learned to treat like the bird. He learned to treat like the squirrel. So everywhere he went, he was by animals. They had a food. He loved it. So every time he went to the north, even the slaughter place walked slowly like food, walked like by side of the is not but Abbas has the ability about everybody communicate. Very good. And he learned a lot from the animal. Then there was one teacher said, no, that's not my point. I should not teach you the ways of life like any other time. So the teacher volunteered and he asked himself every now and then. Rising up, Abbas went on. I don't want the rest of the school to went to my class. Nobody would sit next to me. But that boy was his life. So he grew up. Now he became a young man. Of course, at feeling, he loved like everybody else. He took the young girls, the young men in the village. Take a look at him. One glimpse and say, oh my God, and take off. That was what was mentioned. Well, fine. So he had one. The king and the king had two of the daughters got married. But one had not yet. That was the guy. When the king became sick on his hand, the sultan became sick. What happened to him? Strange alien in the king's hand over the sultan hand. So everybody wondered. Now, the last born daughter of the sultan, they must to cure my father's alien. I will take this. Wow. Well, you know, marrying the sultan's daughter, that is the big thing. People shouted fire. All kinds of motivation. But the sultan did not move. Then one day I was, you know, the ways of life, you know, interacting with the animals. And so we started animals there, the squirrels, the hares, the tortoise, the owls, and all the birds and animals and people. This is the king. I wish. But even if I did destroy him, the daughter said that the person who destroyed is her father. Her husband. He never liked. But I just did after humanity of both. I went and she was at I go back home. Then maybe when the children, I not then the bird said, we have something for you. Okay? True. This is what I will give to you to add to the birds and medicine. And all the other animals get together, they make shrubs and the fruit and the berries and everything they get together because they knew the secret too. The sultan killed. So when they did that, they said, Lord Brahma, you take this. This is what you should do. Apply this on the sultan's forehead, apply this on the arm, massage it. Then after you do that the seventh day, on the seventh day, you slowly take, it will slowly heal the sultan. Stop it, I'll give it a try. But after that, I'll come straight home. Went to his palace and told him, I'm going to the palace, I have medicine. But after that, after 7 days, I'll come up because I'll have no business in the king's palace, no nothing. Despite what the daughter has said, I know she'll never love her. I have a disability, so I'll just come straight home. After his parents gave it, they are presenting, he went to the castle. He asked the sultan, everybody looked at him and they were like, no, not him, he cannot do anything. He only talks to animals, what can he do? I mean, look at him, he has a big head. He crushed on the sultan. Just take it, and then he do. So he started like the sultan giving it some must I do it? Somehow, the princess now, the last, used to call her the 11th last. But she loved her mother very much. So she put next to Abbas and asked Abbas, what should I do? How can I help you? then I breast with hand. And if you do this, then I'll do this. Somehow they became attached. You know, Kataleben could not see a brass from his big head, but she was beginning to be a friend. And she started smiling. A brass would move his hand, a shiny smile, and then continuing his own. But on the 5th day, now a brass started changing. You know, you could also smile back at the prince. And the prince was smiling. So he went on the 6th day, and on the 7th day, the king back up. He asked for a bowl of soup. The princess brushed the ticket, brought her for that soup. He drank it. Then he asked, sit up, and somebody to help him walk around. And the rest he asked for the toilet. So he does the king on one side, and calculated the princess does the king on the other side. And they started, like walking slowly, exercising. On the 7th day, brass said, that he wanted to go back. The king said, no, I'm not strong enough. I need to get for another 2 days. He said, okay, fine. Okay, the 8th day, the 9th day. Then the king said, no, just 1 more day. I need to work on my own in the strength. So on the 10th day, the king got up. Okay. Then go back. 11 looked at the rest of the king. And there was a promise that I had made. I had said that if any beautiful man is in my father, that man will be my husband. I'm not ashamed to marry me. He said, a blessing short. The princess asked him to marry her. I said, no, I'm not seeing you for what you are. I am seeing you for who you are. You have the kindness heart. It's like my father. He's strong. He can do everything on his own. Now, I don't mind to do it. Like what everybody else is saying. Now, he had disability to marry the princess. And one more thing, he became one of the best doctors. Inside and outside the kingdom. Everybody who looked at the big-headed, the worthy person, now looked at you in honor. He actually taught other people the kinds of medicines that he learned from the animals that he had. And everybody respected. So, when you look at a person who has disability, the chicken that is going to fish, isn't it? Yes. And that person can become whatever they want to become. That's the end of the story.
Yes, I think that's the end of the video. And I'll hand it over again to Halima, because I can, so that she will continue with the session. Halima? I think she might be having connection issues. Maybe we hear from Dima. Then Siama, I can see your audio is still off. If you don't mind disconnecting, then connecting again, because you'll be talking after Dima.
Blessings, greetings, Maskagero. My mind is so completely blown, and I am Nubian from Sudan, and I started my journey with connecting with my Nubian heritage officially or properly or more adequately in 2016 when my sister and I co-founded the Nubia Initiative, which is a co-creator of this Nubia Fest. And of course, I know and I understand that we are diasporic and we have gone to beyond what is now the superimposed geographic borders on us. But these connections, watching this video, it really, I mean, it felt like I was just watching my aunt speak. And and when I'm seeing the imagery, I made this in my first journey to my village, which was in January. And I had the aunties in the village teach me how to do it. And they all looked at me like I was a complete alien, and they laughed me out of the room. Like, why do you want to learn these things? Like, you really want to sit and learn how to make yes, I really want to sit and learn how to make this, because this is heritage and it connects us to so much. And little did I know that now it connects me to an entire side of my family in a country I've never even been to. So I just want to say I am extremely grateful for all the knowledge that you've shared. And I look forward to having more and to seeing and learning more. And can I commend you on bringing in a photographer to speak about this as well? My sister is a photographer, and our first journey, how we started the Nubia Initiative, she's a photographer among many other things. Delia, if you're hearing, I know you many other things as well. She went to document, so she had 5 days on the Sudanese side of Nubia and 5 days on the Egyptian side of Nubia, and she went and she took photos, and it was just tracing these similarities and the things that connect us. And now I have to tell her that, well, we have many, many more to go to. And it's at the heart of what we're doing at the Nubia Initiative. We are a transboundary organization, and we started by saying we are focused on the Nubian communities in Sudan and Egypt because that's what we know and that's who we know, right? We are Nubians from Sudan, and we grew up in Egypt. So we're familiar with these two communities and in the diaspora. Now we are very, very proud and very, very pleased and very, very honored to be able to include in our transboundary work our brothers and sisters from Kenya. And we look forward to you teaching us more and for us to explore these similarities. And just continue coming together. Please, Dr. Samantha, any work or your research, your links, if you can just drop them on in the chat, and I will be very happy to share them on our platforms. In fact, any work that is available on this. Unfortunately, I've had technical difficulties, and I've had this for all week now. And as you know, yesterday the website completely crashed from the interests on all things Nubia. And I'm so very grateful to all the love that you have shared with us, all the love that you have put out there to Nubia, to the children of Nubia everywhere around the world. I'm very grateful. Thank you.
It's interesting to discover that Dima and I share the same surname. We are both Mahmoud. Someone was highlighting to me that my sister is on the other side of the screen.
Yes.
It's a pleasure.
Pleasure is all mine. Thank you for your patience and for your perseverance, and for when you don't find the connections working, you went through Zoom and you've held this anyway. And I think if anything, that is a testament to who we are as Nubians. We work with what we have, and we will always find a way to transcend the obstacles, to transcend whatever has been put on us to rise. Thank you. And thank you for taking the time to share this knowledge with us. And yesterday I had a presentation on the Nubia Initiative and how to be the bridge between our communities and the diaspora and so on. And I mentioned this session for today, and a lot of people was like, oh, we can't wait to hear, we can't wait to hear, we can't wait to hear. So I can't tell you how many messages now that I have my tech coming back. Oh, why isn't it live? Why isn't it live? So please do share this recording with us so we can provide it with them. Let me see if we are getting any feedback yet. They're watching on all the platforms. Thank you so much, Mustafa. Thank you, brother.
Welcome. Halima, back to you.
Thanks, Mustafa. Thank you, Dima, for your very insightful and emotional session, and at least the time we've taken to be able to just give a highlight of your background and stands for ensuring that we as the community
sorry, Halima, it's very choppy. It's very choppy,
Yeah.
Halima. I'm unable to hear.
I think we are having a lot of challenges on Halima's tech side, just like Dima had challenges today.
The tech gremlins will not win. They will not win. We will persevere.
Yeah.
So, Halima, do you still have tech issues?
So I'll wrap up the session, and first, thank you to the audience through the precious time just about the Nubian cultural preservation, as well as the panelists for the remarkable contribution to the Nubian cultural preservation, the Nubian Souk team, the Nubia Culture and Heritage team, and for everyone else who has contributed in ensuring that this discussion was a success. We look forward to engaging with you further. As the Nubian Souk and the Nubia Cultural team continue the work of cultural preservation and community innovation. So in case any of the audience wants to reach us, kindly reach us on Facebook at the Nubian Souk, on Twitter at Nubian Souk, and our email address is nubiansouk@gmail.com. We will be happy as well to share our panelists' email if that's okay. In case you would like to do that, please reach us, and we'll be happy to at least share Dr. Samantha Balaton Prime's email address as well as Dima's email. So thank you very much, everyone, for your time and just making sure that we are able to contribute something that is really remarkable. Thanks once again. Over to you, Mustafa, as we wind up and say goodbye.
I think, Dima, you have something to say before we wind up?
Yes, I do. And before I say that, please let us not say goodbye. Let us see you later. See you soon. Because we are just getting to meet. So please let it not be a goodbye. And I would like to take this opportunity to extend an invitation. On Saturday, we are having a session called Nubia Unbound. And it is open to Nubians around the world, from all backgrounds or wherever we geographically are right now, to join in and say, what does it mean to be Nubian? It's Nubia Unbound, being Nubian beyond borders or boundaries. So please, I extend the invitation to you. Check the dates on the calendar, tune in, share your perspective. We have Nubians who are either Nubian Americans or Nubians in Egypt, Nubians in Sudan, Nubian European tuning in, just to share how we can come together and what these experiences are and what it means to be Nubian to us. So please do join. We still don't have any Kenyan representation on that panel. So please, brother, sisters, come through and represent.
Sawa, asante sana, Dima. We'll see you on Saturday. Thank you all for your time. Greg, I know it's past 4 a.m., but you made time to join the panel. Sam, I know the time zone clashes, and you still made time to see us. So we cannot really thank you enough, but tutaonana tena. Kwaherini.
Thank you.
Ndio, shukran.
Shukran. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Kwaherini.
Shukran. Thank you.
Thank you all. Family, if you have tuned into this, if you have watched this, and I apologize for the emotion. Actually, I don't apologize for the emotional outburst. I am proud of that emotional outburst because it just means that this connection has brought to life this union, this fest, this Nubia fest has brought to life so many more connections and brought us closer together, which is at the heart of why we started putting this fest together. If you are tuned in and if you have any questions, please share them with us. We will get them through to Nubian Souk, to the wonderful people who are on this panel. I will just take a few minutes as this live goes to put the information on the comments as far as the links and so on go. Oh, it would seem I am completely out of this session. I will ask the Nubian Souk to send this information forward. Please make sure you follow them on Facebook, on Twitter. Keep asking questions and tune back in. We have more to come today, and absolutely tune back into Saturday for a bigger reunion of the larger Nubian family. Thank you so much. Afia Lugo.